Today we're going to discuss the internal notes section, which Lucid Switch has built off of the existing complete and create new to-do function in the Workbooks activity module. Workbooks has an out-of-the-box functionality in which you can easily keep track of your activities, create follow-ups, and maintain your notes with a timestamp inside of the activity module. At Lucid Switch, we have taken this functionality and brought it inside the sales lead and opportunity module as well, in order to have all the information you need in one location. If we open up a new sales lead, I'm going to start new sales lead, and here we're going to call it testing person 1. Oops. And we then scroll down to the internal notes section and see here that there are several fields present. The first field is the next step field, in which we have several options. These options include complete and create new to-do, complete and create new meeting, create new to-do, create new meeting, and complete and close. We'll just go ahead and role play the use of this. Let's just say we want to create a follow-up activity for testing person 1. It's going to be our first activity that we need to do in the future. We could then select create new to do. We choose a due date. For this one, we're just going to select today's due date because we want to show you the today's activity dashboard. And we'll just call it initial call with testing. Here we also have a field for status, and depending on your workflow, you would update the lead status to whatever is appropriate. This is a Workbooks out-of-the-box field, so you can just update that pick list to whatever values are appropriate for your organization. Now we also have fields here for activity purpose, activity result, as well as activity assigned to and assigned ID. Assigned ID is the unique ID for the person who the activity is assigned to and shouldn't be edited by a user. So don't ever, you don't have to change this. If your organization wishes to use these fields, your Workbooks administrator can update the pick list values for what makes sense for your team. Example here, we've got LVM, left voicemail, live person, or gatekeeper. Those are just some standard things that we see. Here we've got new call, clinical evaluation is for one client, demo, follow-up, and initial meeting. So activity purpose is going to be the reason for your next activity. So in this case, we're actually putting our next activity in here now. That's what we're doing. So we're going to put in new call. At Lucid Switch, we use new call as the purpose until we actually speak with someone for the first time. And then the activity result is not used since we are just setting up the activity and don't know the result yet. So if your activity uses the activity assigned to feature, then you can choose someone to have the task assigned to. Otherwise, the task will default to the owner of the record. So the owner of the record is the person who is assigned to. So in this case, it says me because I'm logged in as myself, but I could certainly, change the record owner to someone else here. And so I'm going to type in some notes here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Save and Close. So now we're going to go into our dashboard here that we've created. This dashboard shows our activities related to sales leads and activities related to opportunities, which makes it very easy for you to see items that are in your daily task list. If we refresh here, we'll see that we now have an activity for our test lead here. It's going to be due today, testing person 1, that's the name of our lead, and the subject was initial call with testing as we wrote in our subject field. So if we click on the sales lead column here, this is actually going to open up the sales lead. If we clicked on the subject, it would open up the activity, but we don't actually need to do that. So now if we look at our internal notes section, we're going to see that it's been time-stamped. Please note this timestamp feature in the internal notes is related to the next step field. So if you were to update another field inside of your lead record here, it's not going to timestamp it. This is only specifically for these keeping track of editing these internal notes here. And you'll also notice that we put the subject and purpose of the current task for reference. Below are the timestamp in your notes here. So we've got the subject, initial call with testing, the purpose. That's because when you click on the dashboard here, you come back in here and you might forget what the subject, what was the reason I was calling? Okay, I'm calling this guy initial call with testing. The purpose is a new call, and there's my notes below that. Now in this situation, we would actually be performing the activity that is due today. So if we took a look at our activities tab here, we'll see that we have an activity, the initial call with testing. It's also in here, and the status here is new. The activity purpose is also listed there as new call. So this is going to be the activity which we're going to be completing now. So we open up the record in order to see what's going on here and complete this activity. So now we need to update the fields to create the next follow-up. A good rule of thumb, if the activity is not a meeting in which you are expecting an answer, put in your follow-up information as if you're going to be leaving a voicemail. So here in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my, my next step here to complete and create new to-do. I'm going to put my next step due on the 17th, and I'm going to put my activity purpose for new call because I'm going to figure out this guy's not going to answer, and I'm going to put my subject to new call 2. So I can put new call 2, and I'm going to type in some notes here. So this guy needs to buy our product. So we're going to go ahead and put an activity result for left voicemail. That's the LVM, so we don't have to, oops, misspelled there. So basically we're going to consider that we're leaving a voicemail. Of course, if the person was to answer the phone, we could update that to live person, which is pretty easy to do. And we can also change the subject, or the purpose rather, to follow up if we needed to do that, and then a new subject. So now what I'm going to do is going to one thing I forgot to mention here. The subject actually cannot be named the same thing, and this is done by design. So if you were to create the subject new call 2, it wouldn't actually create a new activity. So we want to make sure that we would rename this to new call 3 for the next time. And we do this because we want to make sure that you can see how many times you're trying to do the same activity in your dashboard. So now we're going to go ahead and hit save and close, and we're going to go back to our dashboard and see what happened. So here again, you have to click refresh because everything is cached locally. So I'm going to hit refresh, and then we're going to see that we've got an activity in our upcoming activities, and the activity that was here is no longer present. So now Workbooks does cache the information locally, so the dashboard has to be refreshed in order to see the changes. But keep in mind that in real life, you're going to have a whole bunch of activities. You don't have to hit refresh every time you do that. But what I might do is if I want to refresh my dashboard, I might click on my new activity. Now keep in mind this activity, you wouldn't be clicking on it for upcoming. You'd wait till probably it's due today unless you're ahead of schedule. So I'd click on my testing purpose 1 to open that up, and while that's opening up the record, I would just click on the refresh button and it would refresh that in the background. So now I'm back in testing person 1, and we can see what happened. So here's our notes again, there's our timestamp, and we've got all the information. Also, the result is left message voicemail. So when we click on the activities tab here, we're going to notice that the original activity has been completed, so that's been completed there, and the activity result is now in the original activity. So remember, we left a voicemail for this, that was our first one, so there our result is tracked, and now this is going to be used for reporting purposes. So and then we've got our new activity purpose. Our new activity status is new, that's the one that's due on the 17th, and so now we're back into our main tab. So now let's say we no longer want to contact this lead or have a follow-up activity. We can now click the next step, complete and close, which will just close out the activity. So if we were to go to next step here, we could just hit complete and close, and then before we hit save and close, one important thing here, when we do click save and close, you'll notice that the record kind of grays out and indicates that it is saving. This is because a script is running which does a whole bunch of time-saving things like completing the task and creating a new one for you. You actually don't have to wait for this to finish to keep moving along. Just click in your dashboard tab to pull it to the front of the desktop, and then you can go ahead and click on another activity to open it up. So if I was to go ahead and click save and close here, it's saving. I can just click on my dashboard and I could open up my next activity. So that one would open up while the other one was saving. So you don't have to wait for that. Now that pretty much sums up how this item works here. And so basically, the same functionality is going to also exist inside of your opportunity record. So that's pretty much how it works. If you don't fill in this information here, nothing's going to show up in the subject or assigned to. Keep in mind the last activity we did here was complete and close, so that's why that's looking like that. And if we were to close out of this record and hit refresh, that activity is actually going to disappear from the upcoming activities because we completed it. So that's about it for the internal notes section. Feel free to contact us at support@lucidswitch.com if you require more information, or you can also talk to your administrator if they're going to update some of those drop-down fields as well. Thank you.